David, the Trevor Project released the results of a national survey that showed this legislation is having a direct impact on the mental health of LGBTQ youth. If legislators aren't standing with them, what do we do?
We vote them out is the short answer to the very important question. We should all be clear that not only was the member Zephyr implicated in being prohibited from entering the chamber to do the job she was elected to do, but her constituents were impacted as a result of her not being there to do the job that they sent her to do. And so the short answer to your question is any legislator, elected or appointed official who is not standing on the side of equity and rights for minoritized people, whether they be Black folks or racial ethnic minorities or LGBTQIA+ folks or sexual minority folks, should be voted out of office. And I want to even be more precise to name that so much of the legislation being introduced, I think the last count from the ACLU was 467 pieces of anti-LGBTQ legislation. A significant portion of that legislation, which targets trans folks in the ways that Hope outlined, is tantamount to genocide, denying people the ability to show up, to be respected, using the pronouns that are important to them, to allow them to do their jobs, to go to the bathroom, to have gender-affirming care. The end result of those things, very much related to the Trevor Project's findings, results in genocide or people not being able to live or otherwise thrive. And for folks who care about Black youth, we should all be clear that the suicide rates for Black youth have doubled over the last 2 decades. Those rates are incrementally larger for LGBTQIA+ youth. And the Trevor Project also published a study that said 1 in every 4 Black, trans, or non-binary or non-conforming youth have contemplated suicide in the last year. And Black folks should know one thing about data, which is that when it comes to us, it's likely an undercount. We are often not statistically significant or represented enough in these studies for them to report accurately. That has everything to do with language. It has everything to do with justifiable mistrust. But the point here is that our babies are dying. Members of our community are screaming for help. Black trans folks are Black folks. And if you're going to care about Black folks, you got to care about all of us.
Before we go, I got time for one more quick story. I want to run it by you, David. 2 Anheuser-Busch employees are on leave after fallout from an ad with a transgender activist. Do you see the fallout as a good thing or a bad thing?
Look, Anheuser-Busch netted, I think, $90 billion last year. They are not affected as a brand by ignorant trans folks who are buying and then destroying beers. I think to Hope's point, so much of this is social. It speaks to how absurd the politicization of issues that are very important with regard to our culture and how we're marking time in that regard. But no, I don't think that it'll have an impact as far as Anheuser-Busch's bottom line. I hope that people are clear about the diversity of their product offerings. And I hope that people are also aware of the buying power of not only Black folks, but of the LGBTQIA+ community more generally. Work woke.
I like the way y'all think and talk about this stuff. Y'all are hopeful. Y'all are passionate. Y'all are brilliant, obviously. But y'all also aren't like so wildly optimistic that you lose sight of the realities of how this world works. In other words, you're like, look, we can fix us, we can organize, we'll get better, we will win. But Anheuser-Busch ain't magically falling. The Tallahassee State House ain't magically falling. We got a lot of work to do to get there, but we're going to do that work because we got to get all of us free. All of us. Anyway, Hope, David, I want to thank you both for joining me. It's always a pleasure to have you on here. The data shows that this topic, all of it that we've been talking about, can take toll on our mental health and even more specifically, the mental health of LGBTQ youth. So we want to take a moment just to share a hotline for you, the Suicide and Crisis Hotline. You can text 988 to reach someone who can help you if you need it for any reason or if you know somebody who does.